Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Top Bins with Twins. And Luke, we are currently about 3 or 4 days, actually 2 days out from the start of the Premier League season. Give everybody an idea. How are you currently feeling with us being 48 hours out from the start of the Premier League?
I'm excited. I'm happy to have the Premier League back, as you can tell, strictly by us doing this podcast, Top Bins with Twins. Like and subscribe. Go down below, hit that subscribe button, and give us a like. We'd very much appreciate it. But we do this because we love it. And this is truthfully kind of like, I feel like a kid on Christmas morning, right? As we're getting closer to the Premier League season, there's just a lot of excitement and a lot of unknowns this season, which is something that we'll talk about as we go through this podcast. That with a lot of players changing squads, potentially even more changing over the next couple of days and today even, there's a lot that is up in the air right now. So we'll kind of have that overarching discussion throughout the pod. But how are you feeling, Paul? Where's your head at?
I'm excited. I mean, I think this podcast, we're really going to focus on, kind of some predictions of the Premier League centric. It's going to be less FPL centric and more so into, how we see the season playing out. So with that, I'm excited to dive in this competition and conversation. Competition. Oh my God.
It is a competition. So you were right. You were right. Yeah.
Dive into this competition, whatever. Interchangeable words, I guess.
Whatever it may be. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for this one. It'll be fun. We'll have some really general talk on the Premier League, focus on some teams in specific. I think we'll highlight, and then we'll really look at who we think the top individual performers of the season are going to be. Which I think there's going to be a lot of points in this podcast where me and Luke are just going to flat out disagree.
If we were agreeing on everything, that would be a problem. That would not be good.
But you see this, like this is the formula. This is how we got Stephen A. Smith. This is how we got Skip Bayless. You just put two people on a Zoom call together, let them have differing opinions, and our producers are going to be so happy at the end of this,
They better be. They've been pretty difficult in this early preseason, so I don't know. We might need to look for new management. That's what I'm thinking. So hopefully they're not listening to this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, let's hope so. That would be kind of awkward. But yeah, with that, Luke, I think one of the really cool things too about this podcast is we're going to focus in the beginning a little bit on something that Luke was building. It's basically an FPL tool that you can use for honestly a ton of different things. This is kind of our first time really rolling this out. Luke's kind of put it out there a tiny bit on some social medias, but with that, we're going to walk you through that. And then after that, we'll kind of jump into Premier League conversation. But anything else to add at the top here, Luke?
No, let's get right into it. I think this is what we put together here is it's just a tool to help FPL managers continue to not only improve their decision making, but to better track their decision making and also try to give them data and information at their fingertips. There's a lot of other tools out there that do a really good job of trying to get this to the people, but this was kind of just my, Paul and I's vision for what this should look like. So really quickly, we have 7 primary tabs you can go through. There's the hub, which will offer high level information on Premier League table. It'll show you how your season's performing. So this area over here, it'll show you what your current rank is, how you've been trending over the last 5 game weeks, and give you a nice little line graph. Who doesn't love a line graph with some arrows, right?
Absolutely.
So that will be nice. And then, something over here to look at with the fixtures. On top of that, it gives you an idea of here are the players you should be targeting for captaincy. how your team is shaping up, right? What are the areas you're focusing on? Maybe you're not even aware of that. So it can be good. And then also kind of the best performers as of late for FPL. So we have other stuff in here too, price rises and also availability watch are going to be mentioned. And a very cool little feature that is something that allows you a little customization is you can pick the colors that you like, and that will hold true throughout the course of the entire platform. So Paul, go with Arsenal. I know that's what you want to go with.
Uh,
um,
you, no, no.
and so
Gonna,
go back down real fast to the very bottom. As you can see down there, there's a link to the official Top Bins with Twins Discord. So be sure to join in there. And so if we go back up to the top, where this really ties in nicely is if we so all the other ones, my team, player finder, fixture ticker, teams, planner, we're going to focus on the planner tab because we're not going to have time to go through all this. We could do an hour-long video on this
yeah,
entire
pretty
software.
dense.
But for the planner, what you would do is you would build out a team here. And then once you do that, it's going to give you the capability to then submit that team to be rated, right? Once you then submit that team, you're going to get a rating 1 through 100. And that then is submitted to our Discord. And in one of the channels over there, it'll show the team you submitted and the rating that you get. So very interactive. You can comment on it. You can upload a picture in there so you can track it. But it's a really cool way to kind of interact with FPL. The final one that I want to show, if we could scroll back up, Paul, is the journal feature. If you could click on that, Paul, I feel like this is a very unique option that I haven't seen any other FPL site have this. What this allows you to do is determine and track the players that you would bring in or you will not bring in. But if you're thinking about them, you can say, okay, for game week 1, I'm thinking about either, let's go with, the 5 million defenders that I'm obsessed with. I want to go with either Nico Williams or Vucevic with Brighton. You log both of them, and then the system will track this and tell you what was the correct decision. And you can, within the notes, explain why you made your decisions and then review that later on. So at a high level, this is kind of what it offers. I think it's a really cool system and has a lot of functionality and will only continue to get better over time. So if you can, give it a look. Let us know what you think. And maybe this will help you in your FPO process. So let's move on to our overarching Premier League discussion, Paul, if we want to head over to the slides that we put together.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry, didn't flip the.
You're good.
Is it not sharing?
No.
1 second, sorry.
Yep. So, okay, as Paul's working on this in the background, what we're gonna do today is we're gonna talk through our expectations for the Premier League in general, right? What do we see happening at the end of the year? And I'll be honest, this has been a pretty difficult process because, as we were talking about when we first started, there's a lot up in the air right now that makes it very hard to predict. So,
Mm-hmm.
take all of this with the extreme level of expertise that Paul and I have. Like we know exactly what's going to happen, but even for us, it's kind of difficult to predict. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I say that jokingly. This is going to be a tough one. So let's get right into it. Paul, what? Let's just start from the top. Who do you think is going to win the Golden Boot this season?
I think it's going to be Holland. He has been indisputably, I think, the best goal scorer of the past probably maybe 15, 20 years in the Premier League. He is probably, I would say, after his summer glow up, maybe one of the more, I would say, popular players that had the biggest rise from the World Cup. He had a great performance this summer. And the biggest issue I think you're going to see with Holland this season is, can Man City's midfield actually supply him? Can they have the technical ability and all those things? I still think they have enough attacking force where he's going to score a lot of goals.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not to foreshadow too much, but I think that I probably don't see City performing the same way they have the past couple years. But with that too, I still think Holland's going to score a ton of goals. I think he'll probably, maybe not easily, but I think he'll still come out with a golden boot this year.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Holland would have, in making my list, I feel like Holland was the surest bet, but I do think that there's a world where City struggle this year, right? And they're trying to figure out how to play, most importantly, not just how is Maresca going to play, but how do we play after Pep? And I think that's the biggest thing, right? Is
Yeah.
Maresca is cut from Pep's cloth, right? He's been in his system. He understands how Man City operates, but there is going to be a period in time where it's gonna be difficult. So I think that Holland could struggle a little bit. I think he'll still have a good season, but I think if everything goes correctly, I was actually torn between two players for this. And it
Mhm.
was not João Pedro and Holland. It was actually João Pedro and Isak.
Mm.
I think that depending upon how their managers adapt the teams and get them prepared for the season and how quickly they can get up to speed, Xabi Alonso and Areola at Chelsea and Liverpool, respectively, I think they could do wonderful, incredible jobs in their positions. And these are two players, João Pedro and Isak, who didn't make the list but was high up there, that I think they will be players that they focus on and know they need a lot out of. So,
Yeah.
um, you know, the hype at I think Xabi Alonso might find a little more success because Chelsea has more of that infrastructure and more of those key players in important positions. So we'll see what happens, but I think João Pedro could potentially win Golden Boot this year.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad shout, Luke. I mean, he's had
Hmm.
some really good moments for Chelsea already. I
Yeah,
mean, he towards the tail end of last season, or I could say midway through last season, all the way to the probably towards the endish, was probably indisputably one of the better FPL picks.
yeah.
Just
Hmm.
based on his performance. The Isak selection there too. Either, I mean, it could be a world. I mean, he probably it's probably what 3 years ago, 2 years ago looked like he was going to become one of the best nines in world football with his performances
Hmm.
at Newcastle. Like he just looks so explosive, his ability to finish, create goals himself. Like if that player shows up for Liverpool, they have a very, very good midfield to supply him. And then also some decent attackers. I'm not going to say they're great, but he can do it himself. So I mean, I like both of those selections. In a world, it could easily be the case where either of those two does get the golden boot.
Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Okay, well, let's go into I don't think golden assist is that's what I called it. I don't think golden assist is the right name for it, but we're gonna go with it. So, the
New
golden
terminology.
assist, the assist man of the year. This is completely on me, but we're just going with it. So, golden assist. You picked Saka. I picked Verts. I think they're both two very controversial picks, if I'm going to be
Mhm.
honest. Tell me why you pick Saka.
I mean, this is he basically led the Premier League in chances created last season with playing what maybe 60% of the season, if that, while also probably being injured. Like he just creates chances and he's playing it.
I I don't think he led the league in chances created. For big chances created, he created 61 last season, and Bruno Fernandes created 136, which is crazy. I think relatively per 90, he was around chances created per 90. He was at 2.5 per match, which is really incredible. And I think most importantly, we didn't see the best version of him, right? Like how many games do you think we actually saw the best version of Saka last season?
Maybe the two or three that he played at the end of the season. like
Yeah, see, exactly. So,
legitimately, like I mean, he
yeah,
obviously at the end of the season still had not recovered from the hamstring injury from the previous season, and so hopefully, we'll see that some time off after the World Cup. Hopefully, Arsenal kind of slowly gets him back. But I mean, I will dive into it later. But if he's fully functional, it's going to be really tough to dethrone Arsenal this season. I think.
Do you think he starts on Friday against Coventry?
I hope he doesn't. He
You don't
literally
want him
got back
to?
like
Yeah,
a week and a half ago. No, I don't. I don't think he should. I think you just wait a little bit. Like give him an
yeah,
extra week, get some minutes in his legs. Maybe you can sub him in. That's fine. But will Arteta start him? Probably.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
I
That's
I
my
don't think he will. Honestly, I think Madueke and Dowman are probably the ones competing and vying for that spot in game week 1. But I mean, eventually Saka is. Like I would say, I don't know. If I were Arteta, I agree with you. I would slowly phase him in and have the goal of after this first international break, then maybe he can start after that.
yeah
Frankly,
yeah.
because you want him playing in Champions League in March when it's important, right?
Absolutely.
That's what matters, I think. So, okay, on to my pick, Florian
Yeah.
Wirtz.
Yeah.
This was a vibes pick, is what it was. His
Has
chance
to be.
creation, and big chances created as well. You know, two slightly different categorizations there, all kind of feeding in the same thing. We're not very high last season. But I think there was a lot of transitioning that he had to do to get up to the pace of the Premier League. Near the end of the season, he was looking really good. It looked like he got his feet underneath him, was feeling more comfortable in that Liverpool side. And we know Iriola is talking about him as being one of their most important players. He said that he's going to be their number 10. And in that position, he's going to have to create chances for them. So I think that Verts could have a really big season. Um, and if he does, I think it's because he continues to build a relationship with Isak. So
Mhm.
I could see many a situations where Isak is played through in the channel by Verts, Isak goal, right? So it's just one of those. I think a lot of things have to go right with so much up in the air at Liverpool, and maybe a couple more signings would help this
Yeah.
come to fruition. So, you know, like I said, Fibes pick, a lot of the pieces have to fall into place, but I think it's a possibility. So,
It's a possibility. I mean, look, I mean, I know we talked about it a lot last year around the same time about how excited we were to see Verts in the Premier League, how he was going to
yeah,
adapt, all those kind of things. And I think the simple fact is he probably struggled a lot with the physicality in the first season. And within that too, I mean, it's a huge. I mean, he was stepping into a position where I mean, he was what was he sold for like 115 million, 120, like
yeah,
really big lofty expectations. He's now under a new manager that probably is more suited to having a player like him. So I would say that I mean I don't think that this is like purely vibes because I mean he does have the ability to do so. The big question is can he really settle into the Premier League this season with those like really heavy minutes on his legs? And he
yeah,
easily could, especially with the better striker in front of him.
hmm yeah. Yep, I appreciate the affirmation there. It's good. So on to the next, the Golden Glove. I think we're both agreed that David Raya is the best pick for this, and that's because Arsenal
Mhm.
are very solid at the back. We know Arteta prioritizes that defensive stability, and even with Saliba being out to start the season, Arsenal have brought in a new signing in Ezri Konsa, who should be a really good stand-in for Saliba has gone, and then a great rotation player to have as well after that. So I
Mhm.
would expect to see Arsenal keep a lot of clean sheets this year. Um, Anything to add on top of that for Raya, Paul?
No, I mean
Yeah,
I think if you've watched Arsenal over the past two seasons, you know how many times David Raya has bailed Arsenal out in moments. I mean, look at the West Ham game away in the last season.
yeah,
Stops Hernandez on the way through. If he scores there, who knows where the season goes? You just don't know those things. And like those, that's what you want from your goalkeeper and the way he plays the ball at his feet. He's just exceptional.
yes, yeah. I knew as soon as they signed him that he was going to be a great fit there. I mean, he was really great at Brentford. I mean, at points on the pod while he was at Brentford, I was saying he's the best goalkeeper in the Premier League. And people called me crazy. They called me crazy.
Yep.
Turns out he is the best goalkeeper in the Premier League, I think. right? So,
Yeah, I would agree with you. I would agree with you. It's crazy he didn't start for Spain at the World Cup. Like, it was
yeah,
absolutely
it
bad.
is. Yeah. An outside the box shout for this that I'm going to throw in, tip my hat in for this one. Think
Yeah.
James Trafford is an interesting pick
Ah,
for
yeah.
this because we know Leeds kind of prioritize having big bulking center backs, limiting the chances that other teams can have. And Trafford's a great goalkeeper. I think he could increase the number of clean sheets they have by 3 or 4. And if he does that, I mean, who knows? So I think Trafford's a very interesting shout for this.
Yeah. He'll come up later on our list. You'll see it.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Well, on to the next player of the year. I went with Cole Palmer here. I think Cole Palmer could be primed to have a great season. I see a little smirk over there for my co-host,
I'm
but
not saying anything.
the entire structure of the system that Jabi Alonso is creating is going to be to get the best out of João Pedro, Morgan Rogers, and Cole Palmer. And I think it probably goes in the reverse order of how I just stated them. I think he knows he needs to get
Sorry.
the best version of Cole Palmer. So it's going to be his priority to get him in good positions and really start to build some momentum to start out the season. Um, because Jabi Alonso has seen how quickly things can turn, right? With his past experience at Real Madrid. So I
Oh,
think he's
yeah.
going to prioritize making sure that they continue to build and that doesn't stall out. So I think Cole Palmer's instrumentally important to this side whenever he's playing well. So I think Cole Palmer could have a really great season. This system fits his talents and his skill set really well. And, we know we also have João Pedro, who is going to draw 6 pens over the course of 3 games. So I think Cole
Don't
Palmer is a
get
good
me,
shout for this.
don't get me started on that shit again, Luke. But I mean, I could see a world where this is possible. I just if I you know how I feel about Cole Palmer going into the season. That he went almost what was it, half a Premier League season without scoring an open play goal while he was
Yep.
actively playing. It's a new system, it's new manager, new setup for the team, that kind of thing. It could be completely different.
But
But
here's my question to you. Sorry, finish your thought, and I'll ask my question. Finish that.
I don't remember what I was going to say. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, think about this, right? When did Cole Palmer really find success? With Pochettino there, right? And then under Maresca, he was even playing better too. And then the injury kind of popped up, and then Maresca's gone. And then the rest of the season is just a wash, right? With how much of a mess it was. But I think having Xabi Alonso there, he gives me the same stability in the feel of a manager as Pochettino, maybe even more so. And he is someone that when he talks about his system, he's not talking about the system. He's talking about the rhythm of his players and the functionality that each one's playing in the team, right? It's not necessarily for him at this point about, well, I need to create a triangle here on the 14th quadrant to make sure that my striker can run through and behind when the center back shifts. He's not as detailed with a lot of stuff like that, especially in the beginning. So I think it's going to be how do we get Cole Palmer to succeed and get the best out of him? I think that's the goal to start the season.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's entirely possible. If I think it's going to really, if Chelsea are having a great season, it'll probably be driven by Cole Palmer. So we'll just have to see how
Yeah.
Chelsea does. You know, they just need to
Hmm.
avoid those red cards, and maybe they stand a chance. But we'll see. With that too, Luke, I pretty self-explanatory. I picked Saka. I think he's going to be the best player on the best team. He um, has those built-in chances always from getting assist on corners, which is exactly why Bruno Fernandes broke the assist record. So we could see that if he's back to the form where he can use his burst and create those left-handed
Yeah.
chances where he cuts in on the left, where he looked like probably 2 years ago, I'd say looked like probably one of the best right wingers in the world. If he gets back to that level, it just makes Arsenal even better. And if they kind of put the pieces together, it already looked so much better with Bruno Guimaraes and the Community Shield. with his ability
Yeah.
to play the ball progressively.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm going to shout Luke out for a second. Luke's been banging this drum for years, saying that Arsenal need him in their midfield.
Yeah.
He was right. I will admit
Mm-hmm.
in the podcast he was right. So you'll see that I think Arsenal are going to be a lot more creative this season in open play because of that kind of signing. And depending on who they get on the left, if they get somebody else on the left wing, but for now, Christoph Solis looks like a really good fit with what he's going to create. So yeah, I think Saka could easily, if he's healthy, be the best player in the Premier League this season.
Yeah, we know that he has the skill set. It's always the question of, is he going to be able to be able to be on the pitch, right? Is he fit enough? But on top of that, is he going to be able to have the most important thing? This is what we talk about a lot, right? With Saka is, does he have that quick first step? Because we know when he's on his day and his fitness is really high, he's able to be one of the most agile and exciting players to watch. But you can see over the past year or two, he hasn't had that step. Like very quickly. Last season in the Premier League, he had 11 goals and 7 assists. The season before that, it was 12 goals and 13 assists, which is noticeably better. But even before that, 3 years ago, he had 20 goals and 14 assists.
Yeah.
Right. And then it was 15 and 11 before that, right? So there's a trend here, right? Like maybe is that year of 20 goals and 14 assists, is that an outlier? Or is that the Saka that we should expect to get this season? So that's the main question. It's like, which Saka do we get this year? And hopefully it is the best version of him, but yet
Yeah.
to be known. So hopefully we see that version of him. Okay, let's do these last two pretty quickly. For the breakout star, Paul, you picked James Trafford. I talked about him earlier. What were your thoughts on Trafford?
I just think he's going to be, he's somebody that's been looking for somewhere to start. He's a highly skilled goalkeeper. He's playing with a good defense in front of him, especially with some of the signings that Leeds have made this summer. And I think Leeds are going to actually probably surprise a lot of people this year. I think they're going to do pretty well. And like you said, I think he's going to probably, maybe with his ability as a goalkeeper, probably save them, maybe nine, maybe 6, 9 points, something like that, where
Yeah.
he's the kind of player though that I think has really been looking for somewhere to play. And I think
Mhm.
he's really going to take advantage of this opportunity and show that, maybe Manchester City shouldn't have bought me and just put me on the bench for a year.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And like honestly, poor Newcastle because they were like an hour away from having Trafford at the beginning of last season. And then
Yep.
on top of that, I think they were even bidding for him at points this year and then just decided they were getting priced out. So,
No.
um,
Enough time being Newcastle.
yeah. Yeah, we'll see that shortly here on our list. So, um, yeah, but I love the Trafford shout. I think you have a great year. I think Leeds is a really good place for him to be in. Did you see the video that's going viral of Trafford where he's just doing one of the PR videos with like I think it's a Leeds correspondent or something. And they're asking him like, "What do you think of Leeds?" And he's like, "Yeah, I love the fans and the jerseys are great and the fans I like the fans. One of my mates was telling me I like the fans." It's just like it's just one of those moments where it's so relatable because like if you were talking constantly throughout the course of a day and being recorded, I would do the same thing all the time. So I don't know. I thought
We
it
we
was
do
kind of
that
funny.
and we're not recorded that often, really, Luke.
Oh my God, it's bad. It's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, mine
Let's hear
is
about your pick here.
Mine is Ryan of Bournemouth. He had an excellent start to Premier League life whenever he came over in January. So he was here for the last half of the previous season. Um, and we also know Bournemouth's new manager, Marco Rosa, is a very attacking manager. He prioritizes um, pushing his teams forward, right? He is going to play a very attacking brand of football. And from what we saw from Ryan last season, I think he's primed to just tear up the Premier League this season. There were rumors that he just got there in January, and apparently clubs were tossing around the idea of spending over £100 million on him. at this point. And I think, what is he, 17 or 18? He's so young. Um, so I think he's primed to have an incredible season this year, and he's a lot of fun to watch play. That kind of made its way into my decision making on this one too, because he's yeah, like he's 20 years old, so he's not 17. He's a little bit older than what I thought, but he is really, really primed for a great season, I think. So keep your eye on
Look, I
him this
mean,
season.
and like we saw him last season. I mean, he can go with the left foot, he can go with the right foot. He's explosive, he's fast, he's strong. Like this is somebody too that I mean, probably in the next 5 years could be a household name. And Bournemouth have been so good over the past couple years. I mean, look at their track record with Semenyo, Solanke, all these other different. I mean,
Krupi
Krupi
Jr.,
Jr., who is now
who,
who's
yeah,
kind
but
of
I mean,
but he easily could be in the same position too.
yeah, Krupi Jr., I mean, it's kind of unfortunate, but at the same time, it seemed like clubs like Barcelona, Real Madrid, PSG, they were thinking about offering around like 120 million pounds for
Yeah.
Krupi Jr. this summer, which is crazy. I know Tottenham was really looking at him too, but Bournemouth have done a great job recruiting, and I think we can see a lot of very fun and exciting things from Ryan this season.
Yep, I agree with you. But yeah, so let's bounce over to young player. I have Rio. I think he's probably going to be playing on the right side, starting out for Liverpool this season. He had some good moments last year. A year older, more physical, probably. I would say going into the season. I think he just from those glimpses last season looks like he is ready. Um, and I think if he locks down that right side, maybe moves to the left a little bit too, he could probably be a pretty integral part of Liverpool's team. And if they have a great season, he could end up being young player of the year.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great shout. I would say for him to continue to find a success at Liverpool, I think they need to make a signing on the left wing or right wing, right? I think they need a balanced attack for him to be able to have the season that he should be able to have, right? Because
Well, they're
if they
trying to get
don't,
Barton, so
yeah, if they don't make another signing though, I think that a lot of teams are just going to focus their defensive scheme on him and try to prevent him from getting into the positions where he can really find success. So,
yeah,
and it's kind of funny. We both picked Liverpool players. So, I picked Jeremy Jacquet. With Liverpool, he's going to be Virgil van Dijk's partner at the back. Really a very physical player. He will. I think he will be. I don't. I think he'll start over Arejo. I think Arejo's there to fill in case there's an injury and maybe play in other competitions. Right. I know they paid a lot of money for him, but I think Jacquet is the future, and Liverpool know that. So, Iriola loves working and building players up, and I think that puts both Rio and Jacquet in a position where they could find a lot of success early on in their careers at Liverpool. So, yeah. Okay. Well, this is our predictions for individual awards for the season. Let's go on to how we see the Premier League table. All right.
Here we go, guys.
So I think maybe the best way to do this, Paul, let's just talk through top five. Maybe let's do top six because top six is more interesting. We'll do how we see the top six, and then we can kind of flow from there. But do you want to talk through your top six first?
Yeah, we'll just start at number one. As everybody needs to remember, the reigning Premier League champions. I would say just based on squad strengths, where the whole Premier League is at the second, I think it's Arsenal's title to lose. I don't say that from a cocky perspective of being an Arsenal fan. I think they just have the most solid squad. There's been a major turnover at Man City, at Liverpool, at Chelsea, Manchester United have Carrick. We'll see if he can keep the success from last season. I think they're missing certain signings still. And with that, I think you could probably look at the second through sixth spot, honestly, and a lot of those teams feel pretty interchangeable to me. Which I'm gonna say that too. Like later down the list, I think even from like 6th to 15th could be pretty interchangeable as well. Like the season, like we talked about in the beginning, like Luke said, this is a very difficult season to predict because there's so much turnover. there's so many new players coming in and players leaving. Mainstays that we've always had in the Premier League for the past 10 years are gone. So one of the big things to note there, though, I think, is Man City. Like, this is a team that's probably finished top, I mean, what, top four for the past maybe 10 years, right? Somewhere in
Yeah.
that realm.
Yeah.
And I think
Easily.
losing this, sorry, what were you going to say?
No. Keep going. Keep going.
I was just going to say, I mean, losing the institutional knowledge of the best manager, probably arguably of all time in Pep, having him go, there's just naturally going to be a drop off. Like, Enzo Maresca could be a great fit. I just don't think that he's going to, match, like I said, the level of the best manager maybe in all time of the Premier League history. So that one's going to be tough. Besides that, like I said, kind of see it as more of a fluid top six there. What are your thoughts, Luke?
Yep. I really think the same way that you do, right? I think 2 through 6 is really difficult to predict. Um, I think I'm basing this upon how I think the new managers are going to do in their new roles at their new clubs. So, putting Liverpool second, I love Areola. I think he's very straightforward. I think he's a manager that takes great pride in just being a good manager. Like, all the other fluff and the PR and stuff and the money, like, that's not why he's there. He's there because he loves breaking down the tactics and understanding how teams operate and trying to get his team to win. And I think that's all that matters to him. So I love that. I think it'll be good for Liverpool and it'll be refreshing for their fans to have that. So I could see Liverpool start to build somewhat of a real momentum, right? If things start to go well. Because I think that synergy between the fans and the players and the club itself, like all three of those, were not disconnected. I think they were all disconnected with Slot there, right? I think they kind of got away from their identity. So I think this could be a good fit for them. I think De Zerbi could really light a fire under Tottenham too. And they've spent a lot of money this summer. Um, but I think they're going to continue to spend more money. There are rumors coming out today that Savinho and Marmoush might be going to Spurs, which I really like for them. I think Marmoush would be a great signing. Like that would be very understated if he went there. So, um, and I think most importantly here, Man City are going to struggle with Maresca there. I think here's my question to you. Is Maresca the City manager by the end of game week 38?
I think so. I think the whole idea here was that they were hiring somebody that they want to have their long term. I don't think Man City's looking at this as we need to. I mean, obviously, he will be gone if they're not in the top six or even in the top four, most likely. But I think that if he does decently well, I think that squad does have certain limitations with losing Rodri and Bernardo Silva. I think that's going to be a big gap for them, especially even technically the stuff that Rodri did. Like, you could even see that, what was it, 2 seasons ago towards, or maybe last season, but whenever Rodri wasn't in that City squad, there was just a massive gap. And like, obviously they spent some massive money. They went and got Anderson, who's going to be a really good fit for that midfield, but it's still a drop off in my opinion. With Maresca, I mean, I would hope. I mean, if I were a Man City fan, I'm obviously not, but if I were, I would want them to ride it out. Like, I mean, you have to build like that trust and understanding with a manager to a club, and it doesn't happen overnight. Like, I mean, look at Arteta. He was almost out as Arsenal's manager, and look where they're at now, like 9 years into the. Like, these things don't happen overnight. I know Slot won a Premier League his first season, but he walked into probably one of the better situations possible. Like, sometimes you can just get lucky.
The Premier League was kind of very much so in shambles that season too. There was a lot going on that season. So,
PG in the world.
Well, we don't have to get political here, but yeah, I agree though. I think Maresca will still be there. The question is, how much is our City fans and their ownership group and upper management, how much are they willing to suffer? And I think if they're willing to suffer a little bit, they could come up with something really great on the back end, but it's going to take time. So I think City will struggle a little bit this year, and maybe focus on some other competitions over the course of the season. So I think United are also going to struggle this year too. Um,
Yeah, you have them
being
at six.
back, yeah, being back in Europe, I think is going to be kind of similar with what we've seen with Newcastle.
Mm,
Whenever they got Champions League 3 seasons ago, and then again and then what would be 2 seasons ago, and we've seen they really struggled. Right, their squad was not ready for the physical demands that all the extra minutes in their legs required, and Carrick's also going to find some issues too, where he's not able to train with the squad as much as he wants.
yep.
And I'm not manifesting this. I don't want this to happen, but in the situation that Bruno Fernandes gets injured,
Or
this
sold.
team this team's done. I don't think they're going to sell him. I don't think so. I think that would be a severe miscalculation on their end to do that now. So,
I agree.
yeah. But okay, so that's our top six. I think as we go through the middle of the table here, from seven down to about really like 13 or so, ours are pretty similar, right? I think,
Yeah.
you have Brighton a little lower in the table than I do.
Mm-hmm.
I have Sunderland a little higher than you. Funny enough, Leeds is pretty similar for both of us. I think a lot of people would argue we have them a little too high, but I would argue they're wrong. So, we'll see how
Yeah.
Leeds do this season. I think, having Fulham at 12th might be a little controversial on our end. Very quickly, Paul, what were your thoughts on Fulham? Why did you have them in 12th this season?
I mean, they finally spent money as soon as
Hmm.
this face. I can't think of not Marco Rosa because you said that earlier. What was their old manager's name?
Marco Silva.
Yeah, Marco Silva. Sorry, it's close. Too similar. But as soon as Marco Silva was constantly banging the drum the whole time he was at Fulham, hey, I need some money.
Yeah.
Hey, I need some money. I need some signings. They finally spend when he leaves. They bring in a new
Yeah.
coach,
Hmm.
Real Madrid, and then they bring in two Real Madrid players as well, and then some other signings as well that I think are going to make them, more progressive. They still have kind of that good core from last season. They did lose Wilson, who was a large part of their success last season,
Yeah.
and Raul Jimenez as well. But they've made good signings, and I think that
Hmm.
they're gonna be difficult to play this year.
Yeah, they've brought in four pretty high name players, like whether it's a name you recognize or from the club they're coming from, right? So
Yeah,
they brought in Jonah Kusiasare, who's supposed to be a really talented young player who was at Bayern Munich. Gonzalo Garcia from Real Madrid, and then
yeah.
Cesar Palacios. I don't know if I said that right, but I'm going to go with it.
Sounds right to me.
Both from Real Madrid, and two very good players. Garcia is really the high name signing
Yeah,
for them. He was being seen as, he came through the Real Madrid academy and he was seen as like maybe he could be the next great Real Madrid player. And it just didn't pan out for him. So we'll see how the move to Fulham works. And then the last player to really mention is Shea Charles. He moved from Southampton. He's a young player. Um, but he's really good. He's very talented, great at playing the ball from deep positions, and someone that I think is a profile that Fulham really needed. So, with these signings, I do feel good about Fulham. I think that they will struggle at times, but I think the relegation talk that was going on for a stretch there is a little reactive. I think they'll be all right for this year. So
me too.
especially with as we're looking at, it seems like the promoted teams might be a little weaker than past seasons.
We'll see.
And so let's go into kind of like a relegation discussion here, Paul. What teams do you think are really in contention to be relegated this season?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with I think Newcastle. They lost so much this summer. Their new manager. I know that there's some people that are pretty high on him. From what I understand, he's going to try to play pretty similar to how Eddie Howe played, with a lot of high intensity pressing, try to create a lot of chances on the counter, that kind of thing. I personally think that they don't have the guns. Like I just don't think they have the attacking firepower.
This is an
And
American podcast.
God, God.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, sorry, I had to interject there. But keep going. So
Yeah, I
very
guess
vertical passing.
we're driving away of 90% of our European listening base with me being like, guns
Oh.
everywhere, guns.
We don't have guns. We don't.
Are those gunshots outside my window? Just
Oh
kidding.
my God.
Um,
Okay.
all right. So with that too, I mean, Newcastle, I think there's a good chance, which to me, I know Luke has Villa at 18th. I could also see a situation where we see Villa here sliding down further. I also think Hull and Ipswich feel like they feel like, I don't know. I feel like Coventry, based on how they played in the championship last season, where they were very adaptable, they could basically play the team they were playing against and kind of get at them in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's going to serve them well, and I think that there was an intention there. I think they knew that, like, hey, we can build a good team, we can play a certain way, but they're going to be adaptable. They're going to be able to bother people. Um, and then Hull and Ipswich, I just think it's going to be really difficult because I think in that range of 13 to 20, it could be pretty much a log jam between a lot of these teams because especially Nottingham Forest,
Mhm.
who I have 17, they could easily fall down there because I think Glasner's great, but it just feels so volatile from, an administrative level and at Nottingham Forest where who knows, maybe he'll be there for 3 weeks and he
Yeah.
obviously already has issues with management as it is at previous clubs. That could be a situation that can south very fast.
Yep, that's exactly why I forced lower down the table as well. I think in an ideal world, Glasner is an incredible fit for Forest. I think we could see them really playing some of that, you know, I don't know if it's necessarily exciting football, but playing with a very strong identity and being, prioritizing defense, but also playing wing backs. They're going to fly up and down the pitch and create chances. And I think it'll be fun to watch. The question is, how long does he stay there, and how is that relationship developing over time? So
Yeah.
that's why I put them further down because I think I expect Glasner not to be in the position by the end of the season, unfortunately. But that's just kind of what I'm thinking. Yeah. So I agree with what you said, Paul. I think that from about 13 to 20, there's going to be a lot of teams that could potentially be in a relegation situation, right? Like it just depends on how they mesh, how the managers adapt to the clubs, but it could go poorly for a lot of these teams. So, um,
Mhm.
I do have Aston Villa being relegated. And the reason I went this path is they've had Yuri Tielemans sold, so that's one player. They had Morgan Rogers sold, both very important players to how they play. I think Lucas Digne being sold is really important too, right? I think he was an important player in the dressing room, and also came up in odd moments, right, where he was really important for them. And finally, Ezri Konsa being sold, I think they're destabilizing every part of their team, and I don't think they've brought in the players to adequately be able to make up for what they're losing. So
That'd be true.
I do worry about them a lot. So we'll continue to see how things develop, but I think Villa could be in big trouble this season if they don't make some more signings. And then
Yep.
Ipswich and Hull, you know, I hope one of them find a way to stay up and offer, some hope to championship clubs that there is a pathway to stay in the Premier League. Similar to kind of what like Brentford and Brighton and Sunderland, like all these great clubs, how they've shown there is a pathway to do that. It's just incredibly difficult. And
Yeah.
I just feel like especially Hull is not going to be ready for that challenge, unfortunately. I do wish them the best of luck, but unfortunately, three teams do have to be relegated, and I think that Ipswich and Hull are the two that were kind of first on my list to be selected for
Yeah.
relegation. So,
I'm there with you, Luke. I mean, I would love to see it be, like I think last year the Premier League was extremely competitive, right? Like even you had a really good race at the top of the table. You had a good race for European spots. You had a good race, honestly, in the relegation fixtures. I feel like this year maybe a little more cut and dry with kind of how some of the teams are set up, especially with like like I said, if Nottingham forced fire, if they have four managers again in the same season, if Marco Rosa doesn't settle in at Bournemouth, they could be in trouble as well. With Fulham, you have a new manager, a lot of
Mhm.
new players. Like
Yeah.
I think, and Villa and Newcastle, like we were just kind of talking about. There could be a lot of upheaval in this Premier League season. It could be a little bit of a weaker year for the Premier League, but in saying that, it could be top heavy too, where the top six teams that we both have in there could just really dominate things this season.
See, I kind of disagree. I think that there are going to be a lot of points shared across teams. I think, last season, how many points did Arsenal have when they won the league? They ended up on 85 points. I would be surprised if the winner of the Premier League gets above 80 points. I think 80 points
Really,
is the threshold this season. That if you get above that, I think you could win the Premier League. And in the past, we've seen teams that are pushing, 100 points, right? Which is pretty incredible. But the thing about this that I really worry about at the same time is I think that we're entering a new era in the Premier League, right? I really think that things have changed. Um, and without, we don't have Pep Guardiola. He's gone. He is out of the Premier League now. And I think that's going to create a vacuum. And we almost lack I don't want to say emotion. I don't want to say that, but there need to be more rivalries forming in the Premier League, right? Like, where are the days of Tuchel having an aggressive handshake with Antonio Conte? Where are those days, right? Um, like I think, and we're gonna see that, right? De Zerbi's a very fiery manager. He is not afraid to tell people how he feels. So I think, and across the board, right? Like Javi Alonso, he's an ex-player. He's not afraid to share his opinion. I think, and Iriol is someone who's probably not going to do that kind of stuff. But I think we could see some more rivalries forming because there's a vacuum that needs to be filled. And all of these managers want to become that next version of Pep, the manager that dominates the league. The question is that already Arteta? Or is he just is he it's going to be a lot to get to that level of Pep, but it seems like he's the closest at this point in time.
absolutely. I mean, like there's simply one manager in the Premier League that has won an actual Premier League title
Yeah,
as a
yeah.
manager, and
Which
that's
goes such
Arteta.
a long way, right? That
And
institutional knowledge of knowing how is exponentially important. I think while we're on Arsenal, I wanted to mention this. I think the signing of Bruno Guimaraes is why I picked them to win the Premier League this season. I think that
yeah,
I would be worried because Saliba's out to start the season. Rice, who knows when he's going to start playing and being the best version of himself after a long summer. Same with Saka. And Gabriel had a long summer as well too. So there's a lot of concerns I have with Arsenal, and I think that, but Bruno Guimaraes is someone that's going to raise them up another level, I believe.
yeah.
So he's the reason, honestly, why I picked them to win again this season.
Well, another thing too to highlight, like I know we were kind of talking about what Gamarish is going to do for Saka, but it's also in the conversation of what is he going to do for Odegaard. Like watching the
Mhm.
Community Shield, Odegaard looked like he was kind of back at that 2022, 2023 level, where he was turning up in really dangerous spots, finding good through balls, scoring
Yeah.
goals. Like I mean, he
Mhm.
literally set Donnarumma down on that shot. Like that
Yes.
was nasty, which we all love to see. But
And it begs the question, why are Man City selling James Trafford? I was beating that drum so hard last year, and it just never made sense to me. I think Trafford fundamentally is a better keeper to have for the next 5 years than Donnarumma. And it just didn't make sense to me. So congratulations to Leeds. You got a great goalkeeper.
yeah, yeah, they absolutely did. But yeah, I think let's see what else do we have here. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of just highlighting some other stuff we were talking about there. Yeah, I think
Yeah. I think most of this is kind of just summary, right? And we'll leave on these questions, right? And we'll leave this up to the audience to answer these, but we'll go through them really fast. First off, do we think Brighton is generally a top half side or a mid-table trap? I think they're generally a top half side. I think they've made some good signings this year, and I think that, like we've talked about, having an institutional knowledge and understanding what systems being played and not having that time where you have to learn something brand new goes a really long way. And I think my only concern with Brighton is, are they playing in Europe? Is that going to take away from then their Premier League effort as well? So we'll see. But I think they are primed for a good season.
I agree, Luke. I mean, the thing with Brighton too is that we do have to look at. I mean, I would probably say they're more like mid-table this season, with losing Danny Welbeck, losing Carlos Baleba. Is Matoma going to be healthy? Like Mente has already been out with injury. Like I feel like there's a lot of things there, but I mean, this is a team that did make some really good signings in the summer. So we'll see how they put the pieces together. I think I could
Okay.
really see it going either way for them, but Hersler is a good Premier League manager. I think he's proved that to this point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll leave it up to the audience to see what they think there. But yeah, and I would say number two, can Man United really crack the top four? What are you thinking there, Luke?
You saw my list. I had them sixth. So
You said no.
I don't think so. Yep. I think, to me it's just like, Tielemans is a good signing. Santos, I'm not sure what they're getting there, right? I think a lot of people have turned him into someone he was not at Chelsea, right?
See, I
But
don't understand. Luke, see, I'm gonna go on a tangent for a second. If you watched Chelsea anytime Santos played in that midfield instead of Caicedo or Enzo Fernandez or whatever that situation was, there was a noticeable drop off. Like that's somebody that does not, I think, have the ability to really dominate other Premier League midfields.
yeah, yeah, it's tough. It's tough because it's like, whenever we look at him, right, his pass completion rate is really good, and that's what Manchester United need, right? They need someone that can play the defensive role, but also facilitate play forward, and I think he can do that. But I we haven't seen it yet to where I really believe that this is going to be a landmark signing. I think Tielemans could be that, right? He could offer them a stability they haven't had in a little while. But I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't fully buy it. So
But just think about the setup of their midfield. Like it's not very athletic at all, right? So
yeah,
you're telling me
yeah,
if they see a midfield of what Declan Rice, Bruno Guimaraes, and Odegaard, like they can't keep up with that midfield. Like they
no,
just can't. Like
yeah,
tactically, technically, physically, they can't. And that should be the standard. I think teams are looking at that here. But that's just me. So we talked about Newcastle a little bit. Um, I think it's the opposite of bonkers. I think it's entirely possible that they could be going down this season.
yeah. I don't know what to expect from them this season. They've had so many new signings. It seems like they're trying to approach building a squad very differently. Because frankly, I think the squad they have was taken from them. Right? I think they couldn't keep the players they needed to. Whether it's PSR, like PSR, right? They had Elliot Anderson and they had to sell him for PSR, right? That solves your Bruno Guimaraes problem right there if you could have kept him. So I think that Newcastle could be in for a really tough year. So we'll see what happens, but having them further down the table is not surprising to me. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, number four just makes sense. I think that's that's really what's going to happen.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. I think the only situation in which this doesn't happen is if we see Liverpool, Chelsea, and maybe Spurs or Man City be at the best versions of themselves, right? If they have three or four teams that are really hunting them and putting pressure on, I think that changes the dynamic and makes things a lot more difficult. But for my sake as a neutral, I kind of hope we do get at least some kind of drama, like something to make us think that there might be a title race. But I'm not sure. Ideally, here's what we have. Maybe let's say there's kind of a rivalry over the past couple of years with Liverpool that's really kind of put some fire into both fan bases. I would love to see, we have 3 weeks to go and Arsenal's on 81 points and Liverpool's on 81 points, you know, and it's like a dead sprint to the finish. I would love to see that, but I don't think we're going to get that.
Or Arsenal could just be on 100 points and Liverpool could be on, 80.
Maybe,
Fine.
maybe. Yeah, we'll see.
I'd be okay
We'll
with
see.
it.
Yeah. So, yeah, but I think that's going to bring us to the end of this podcast. We hope that you guys got a lot out of this. And as we said at the beginning, please be sure to like and subscribe. It does a lot for the channel. And if you get a chance to check out the FPL tool that we've put together, let us know what you think. If you think there's anything that can be added or need improvements on there, please give us that feedback. Paul, before we go, any closing thoughts? Anything that you want to address for the Premier League season as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for another season. I mean, we knew this was going to roll around a lot quicker than typical with the World Cup, and we're already, like I said, 48 hours away from the Premier League. So, just to throw out an FPL tidbit here for everybody: make sure you set those teams. You have an unlimited amount of transfers. Enjoy that, but overall, with the Premier League season, I think it's just going to be a lot of fun. With all the new managers, all the new storylines we have, feels like there's kind of some fresh blood going on in the Premier League, and I'm excited to see how it plays out.
Me too. Me too. I think it's going to be a
Also,
great
Luke,
season.
real quick, tell everybody where can they find the link to the website to.
Very easy. It's fpl.topbinswithtwins.com. So very straightforward. Make sure to pin that to your favorites. Tell your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, tell everyone about it. Let them know. It's a great tool. And I think that hopefully it helps you in your decision-making process. So, it's going to be a great season. I'm really excited to continue to be doing this podcast with you, Paul. It's been a lot of fun tonight, and I hope that you, the listeners out there, had a great time as well. So, with that, I think we will bid you all adieu and catch you next time.
Thanks, everybody.